Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the JuiceBox podcast presented by Lock City. We got another UFC episode today with Munz and Wighty, but before we dive in, if you aren't already, guys, be sure to subscribe to the Discord server at wap.com/lockcity. We are in the last few days of our NFL sale. Be sure to use code NFL Playoffs. That's 50% off any plan on there. It's a pretty great deal. What do you think, Wighty?
Yeah, I mean, better take advantage of it before the weekend's up. I think it ends Monday at 12 o'clock, so definitely hop on if you haven't used that yet. It gives you 50% off any plan, wap.com/lockcity.
Hell yeah. All right. We got UFC, UFC 312, right?
312.
DDP and Strickland. Okay. First fight, we got Jake Matthews and Francisco Prado, huh? Jake Matthews.
Yes, sir.
Jake Matthews is 20-7, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he's coming into this one off of a decision win in his last. This guy's a pretty well-seasoned UFC vet. He's been a part of the promotion since 2014.
Yeah, I think, especially in front of the home crowd, I think with it being the first fight on the main card, the crowd's going to be hyped up. He's going to have some good backing on this. I don't really see how Prado wins this one. They're the same height. Matthews has a little bit of a reach advantage, 4 inches. He's bigger. He's got better range. He's a more experienced fighter. I took Matthews on this one.
Yeah, I got Matthews too. I mean, Francisco was 11-0 before coming into the UFC. It's his 3rd fight in the UFC, and he's 1-2 since joining the promotion, and he's coming off a loss. Underwhelming, I'd say. And yeah, bro, Matthews has shown he can win in like any way possible, whether it's decision or getting the finish. So, like you said, home crowd, they're going to be going crazy. I got Matthews here too.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo Bellato. So, Jimmy Crute, he's 12-4-1. He's 1-3-1 in his last 5 fights. His last fight was a rematch from his it was a draw, not a no contest, against Alonzo Menafield, and it was a loss in his last fight. So, I don't know about Jimmy. Rodolfo, on the other hand, he's 12-2-0. It's his 2nd fight in the UFC. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 1-0 in the UFC. Like, they got close records, but just looking at their most recent fights, I'm going with the rookie here. The UFC rookie, I should say.
Yes, sir. I agree with you for sure on this one. I think Jimmy Crute's probably the more skilled fighter. But like you were saying, he doesn't have a win in his last 4 fights, I believe. This will be the 5th one. He doesn't have a win since 2020, point blank. I think Bellato's defense is a little one-dimensional. I think it was his last fight or the fight before. He just stood in front of his opponent, allowed him to pepper him up. But I could see a method to victory for Jimmy Crute from that perspective. But I don't know. I'm giving the edge to Bellato. I think Jimmy Crute's going to be a little bit nervy in front of a big home crowd. He knows that he's probably going to get cut from the UFC here if he goes 5 winless fights in a row. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I'm giving it to Bellato.
Yeah. I don't he could come out swinging, but yeah, I'm giving this one to Bellato too.
Yep.
I think Bellato could even win it by KO or submission, bro.
Yeah, he's been more active. I think he'll be more comfortable in the octagon there. It's a weird fight for a main card, though. Should be an undercard fight for sure anywhere else. Neither of the guys are ranked.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird, but I think, is Jimmy Crute Australian? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. That's probably why. All right, moving on to the 3rd fight of the main card. We got Justin Tuffa, an Aussie native, versus Talison Teixeira. Nice heavyweight fight to hopefully make up for the very underwhelming one last week. Justin Tuffa is 7-4 with 1 no contest. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had 2 big KOs, round 1 KOs in 2023, going 2-0 in that year, but he's coming off a decision loss in his last. Now, one thing I want to mention about him is I'm pretty sure when he joined the UFC, his first 4 fights, he went 1-3, and then after that, he's been 3-1, I believe. I could be very wrong about that, but his last 4 fights, he's 3-1, so something to take into consideration there. But he's going up against Talison Teixeira, who is an absolute beast. This guy's 7-0, making his first appearance in the UFC after winning the Contender Series. And I'm pretty sure all of his fights are first round finishes.
Yeah, he seems sketchy. I wasn't able to find a whole lot of fight footage on him. Like you were
Yeah.
saying, it's his debut. It's going to be pretty risky to kind of predict this one. I think so. Taliesin Teixeira, he's 6'7". Tafa's only 6 feet tall, so he's got a 7-inch height advantage.
Yep.
Teixeira's got a 9-inch reach advantage. I think that's
Yep.
going to be tough to overcome in a heavyweight fight. I think it was MMA Guru said that this guy's not even in the USADA. Well, not USADA anymore, but whatever the new testing pool is, he hasn't been tested yet. So he could be juiced up. It'll be interesting to see what we see and how it goes.
Imagine he comes into this just straight juiced. Oh my God. That would be something to see.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm giving it to Teixeira, though.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Tafa lacks in the wrestling and ground game. He's not too great at defending takedowns. Teixeira has shown, bro, he can submit. Goes for the KO. Like, I think he gets the finish. I really do think he gets the finish.
I hope so. They're both going to come out swinging, and Taliesin's got the range advantage. I think he probably clips him.
I hope so. It's a nice heavyweight. It'd be nice to see a nice fucking heavyweight knockout.
And the second Aussie loss on the card.
Oh, sucks for the home crowd, but I mean, it's what you get when you do these matchups, right?
Yep.
All right, co-main event time. We got Weili Zhang and Tatiana Suarez. Weili is coming into this one 25-3-0 record, being 4-1 in her last 5. She is 4-0 after her back-to-back losses to Rose, and she's 9-2 in the UFC. She takes on, though, an undefeated Tatiana with an 11-0 record, obviously being 5-0 in her last 5 fights, and of course being 7-0 in the UFC. I think this is going to be a banger fight.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the best, maybe the best technical fight on the card.
Yeah.
I think this will be Zhang Weili's toughest fight in her career. I think the best comparison that I saw in terms of fight history was both of them have wins over Carla Esparza.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best grappling comparison for Suarez right now. I mean, Zhang Weili obviously dominated Esparza, but Suarez is, I would say, a better wrestler. And that's saying a lot because I would say Esparza is probably top 3 in that division all time, but she's going to need to, Zhang Weili is going to need to evade Suarez's takedowns, and we'll see it. It's going to be an interesting fight for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Weili's pretty good at avoiding, should be pretty good at avoiding the takedowns, and she's good on the ground herself, right? She's got a few submission victories under her belt, so shouldn't be too foreign to her if Tatiana gets her on the ground. Yeah, like you said, it's going to be the most technical fight of the night, 100%.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think Tatiana's ever gone 5 rounds before, so that puts a huge question mark
Right.
sorry, on her for that.
I believe you're right
and
about that.
Weili's obviously gone 5 a ton of times, so we'll see. I gave this one to Zhang Weili on the endurance.
I think we see a lot of ground game in this one. I think Tatiana comes out on top.
Alrighty, this is our first one we differ on the card, and I think the only one. I think we have the same for the main.
Yeah, I think we do. You got DDP, don't you?
I do. Let's get into it.
All right, main event time. You heard it, DDP and Sean Strickland. The fucking rematch. All right, DDP comes into this one with a record of 22-2-0, being undefeated, 8-0 in the UFC, and he is the current middleweight champion, of course. He has only 2 fights that have gone to decision, and one of them has been against Sean Strickland, of course. Now, Sean Strickland is another well-seasoned vet in the promotion and on this card, coming into this fight with a record of 29-6, being 4-1 in his last 5, and he is a very, very impressive 16-6 in the UFC. He's a former champ of the division, and he's looking to regain his title in this rematch from the man who took it in a very, very close controversy decision call.
Yeah, this one's going to be, like you said, really close. I think Sean won that first fight, and we know he's going to fight the same way. He always fights that way. So that's going to be troublesome for Dracus, obviously, to hit him. I think Dracus likes to bring his opponent into his pace and into his space and within his reach, which is not the way that Sean fights. Sean's pretty composed, for as outspoken as he is outside of the ring. He holds his own composure while he's inside. I think he's going to keep his distance. The thing that really swung me toward DDP on this one was the news that Strickland might have staph infection on his arm. I think that's going to affect his cardio greatly. I think Drickus, we saw it in the first fight, he attacked Sean's legs a good amount. Sean's not going to do that. He's just going to throw punches and Philly shell it. So we'll see how this goes. I'm giving it to DDP on this. I think he can batter him up a little bit more, probably land a couple more significant strikes, and keep his title. He's motivated. He's on his first title run, and he's super confident. I think he probably keeps it.
Yeah, I'm leaning to DDP here. Like you said, the world and myself included think that Sean won that last fight. They're both coming off wins in their last fights. Sean Strickland won against Paulo Costa, I believe it was, and DDP submitted. Yeah, he submitted Israel Adesanya by cranking his face in. Bro, I think Strickland has just been spending too much time running his mouth in the media, and it's a fight where I would want him to win, but that factor alone has turned me against him. Forget the staph infection, just his mouth and what he's been saying lately has turned me against him. Sorry to get a little political there, but not only that, bro, I just see DDP slowly evolving more and more since his last fight against Sean. I mean, it's only been one fight since, I'm pretty sure, and it was against Izzy. Yep. But like the way I know Izzy's kind of on the downfall. People are gonna probably hate to hear that, but I know he's on the downfall. But the performance that DDP put off in that fight, and just what I've been seeing in the embeddeds and other things that I've seen and read, I just have that feeling in my gut that we'll hear and still for this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be DDP, and I also think Izzy's washed. That's why we picked against him on Call the Card last week, and got it right.
Yep. You're not wrong about that. All right, anything else you want to touch up on this?
No, I don't think so. Some super exciting, well, the later ones are super exciting fights. The beginning's a snooze fest. I don't think there's one ranked fighter in the first 3 fights, but it is what it is. And and for some exciting ones, I think Tafa Teixeira will be fun. I think Wighty and Suarez obviously will be good. And then DDP and Sean's going to be a classic. So
yeah, DDP and Sean's going to be one for the books. I think Tafa and Teixeira might get fight of the night.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And the only one we differ on is Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez. So we're in for the long haul.
Be sure to lock in those cards, guys. We only got one different pick, so you know what that means. One of us is going to sweep.
Yep, and 4 of them are absolute locks.
Yep. All right, guys, like I said, if you haven't already, be sure to utilize that code NFL Playoffs for 50% off any plan on wop.com/lockcity. Like Whitey said, the sale ends Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern, so be sure to get on that as soon as you can if you haven't already.
All right. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.